Hi, my name is Dave Zerby. Today we're going to talk about temperature control and go through some pre-trip items. If you have any questions after you're done watching this, please contact the safety supervisor at the nearest terminal. Some of the major components you want to look at, just like looking at the components in the tractor, you want to check the oil level on the dipstick. If it needs oil, you add the same oil you put in the motor, 15W40. On the Thermo Kings, it's a little different. We'll go over that later. This is a carrier. Check the oil level. Oil level is good. We're going to check the filters, make sure they're seated properly and they don't have any leakage around them. There's no leakage on the block anywhere. There's fan belts. Fan belts are tight. One underneath here, two underneath this shroud, and then there's another one back here for a total of 4 belts. Always make sure that when you're doing a pre-trip inspection that the unit is off. You don't want to have your hands in here in case the unit starts up unannounced, and of course I'd just remove a hand or a finger. This device here is the manual fuel pump. If the unit were to run out of fuel, you'd have to manually prime the system. To do that, turn the valve to the left like this. And start pumping. It's going to take a long time for you to pump that system and prime it properly. When you're done, just turn the valve all the way to the right to close it. This little valve up here is a bleeder valve. Right now it's closed because the system is primed. If you manually prime the system, you're going to have to open this. You're going to basically get all the air out of your system, and then you're going to close it up. Some of these units are going to have an air filter indicator to show you how the air filter is doing. Some of them, like this, will not. Over here we have the compressor. You may be able to see an oil level in the compressor when it's not running, but when it is running, you're going to see oil in the window here. On the carriers, the battery is located back here behind the compressor. On the engine compartment of a carrier, on the side, we can access the battery here, check for water, tightness of the terminals. Most of these units will also have some sort of instructions in here. If you have trouble, you don't understand a particular code, contact somebody either in safety or in the temperature control department. Have a phone number. The carriers have an 800 phone number. The Thermo Kings have a call collect number. If you're out on the road and you experience a breakdown, you need to call this number to find out where the nearest dealer is. That way we can get the unit serviced in a timely manner without losing the freight. One of the things that you should look for is coolant, just like you would on a normal tractor. In the case here, radiator hose is located back here, and the unit itself, radiator is up front. It's very hard to get to, especially standing on a catwalk. If it's not leaking, it's probably okay. When a unit gets into a terminal, it's going to get checked and it'll be serviced properly. To check the coolant on a carrier, open up the side panel by lifting these little clips. The door is going to open. It doesn't open very wide. Here's the radiator. Here's the coolant level. Always make sure that you add coolant when the engine is cold. Never add coolant to the engine when it's hot. It may boil over on you. Always be careful when you're operating anywhere near coolant. If the radiator gets clogged with bugs, clean it out. There may be debris sucked up in here as you go down the highway. The carrier system has a manual start function to make sure that if we're going to start the unit, it has to be in a continuous run mode. Once we've done that, we'll manually warm the glow plugs depending on the ambient air temperature, how long we'll do that? Anywhere from 15 to 45 seconds. Once we've warmed the glow plugs sufficiently, then we will start the motor. Once I've done my under the hood checks, I'm going to start the motor. Place the unit into start run position. It's going to run a little diagnostic here to check itself, to see how it's doing. Some of these units will have a warning buzzer that the unit's going to start, like that. This unit is cooling. The set point is 35 degrees. The interior of the box is 74. It's in a start-stop mode. We can adjust these simply by pressing the up or down arrow keys. If I don't press enter, the unit's just going to flash and will return to the original set point. If I need to change that, I'll then press enter. And now the new code is set. If I need to run my unit continuous, instead of a start-stop, press the auto start-stop continuous button. Now it's in a continuous mode. The start-stop light is now off and is not illuminated on the display. And I can also look up here on my side panel and notice that my engine auto start light is not lit. If I put it into start-stop mode, my light comes on. I can see this in my rearview mirror of the cab. If I need to make any changes, go into function change. For instance, the defrost is set for 3 hours. I'll press enter. Now I can adjust the defrost cycle where I need it to be, 6 or 12, or I can adjust it down to an hour and a half, whatever is needed. Again, if I don't press anything, the unit's going to flash and return to its original setting. To change it though, press enter, make the change, press enter again to set it. If I don't press again, now it'll go back to the original setting. I go through the function codes, I'm getting different things. Normal air, off time 10 minutes, on time 4 minutes, remote probes. Degrees are set in Fahrenheit on the display. Temperature start. It's an auto operation. Temperature range B. Set in English. Normal glow. Alarms are cleared. Back to the defrost cycle. For unit data information, the air pressure, engine hours, water temperature, all sorts of information here that is extremely useful, not only to you, but to the mechanics who may be operating on the unit itself. And if I stop pressing the buttons, it's going to go back to the original setting. Shut the unit off. Turn it to off. One of the important things when you're walking down the side of a trailer is always to check the sides for any damage. It's important to look for any holes, creases, anything at all that might indicate a hot spot may be created on the inside of the trailer from damage to the outside of the trailer. Look down the sides, along the top. Trailer looks pretty good. Want to check your fuel. Always check your fuel level against the gauge here. Always show up at your customer with a full tank of fuel. Some customers may have fuel and most customers won't. But even if they do have fuel, the chances are they're not going to put any in here. Check your cap. If the cap is on too tight, we could have a problem. On top of this tank, there is a vent valve. And if that vent gets clogged and this cap is on tight, the tank will collapse. It'll be sucked flat. Always make sure that the cap is just a little loose. It's not going to come off during transit, but it's just enough that if it were to run out of fuel, it'll draw air first without collapsing the tank. In the wintertime, you need to add anti-gel additive to the tank. If necessary, blend the fuel 50-50. All of these trailers are air ride. Some of the newer trailers, like this one here, don't have the tendency to sit when you pull the parking brake. You may want to check your trailer to see if it'll sit or if it'll ride high. Since they are air ride, the tandem pulls are a little different on some of these. Some of them they're in front, some of them are in back. Always check the condition of your tires, make sure that there isn't any leakage around the hubs. No seals are leaking, the brakes are in good shape, and the rest of the suspension is intact. The newer trailers have anti-locking brake systems on them, and if they do, they're going to have this light out here to be visible from your rearview mirror. And if this light illuminates, that means you have a problem with the anti-lock brakes on the trailer. The trailer brakes will still function as a normal trailer, but the anti-lock function isn't. So if this light illuminates, bring it into a terminal or repair facility to get it repaired. When you come around to the back of the trailer, it's always important not only to check your doors and seals, but on a temperature control unit, it's really important to check your seals. If you have a bad set of seals, you're going to have leakage. Heat's going to be able to get in, bugs, whatnot, and your customers are going to reject the trailer. They're not going to put their product in here. So you want to look up and down the side of the trailer, get all my lights, my hinges, my seals are intact, my license plate, my ICC bumper in good shape. I've unlatched the door, but as you notice, it doesn't open freely like a dry van would. That's because of the seals that are in the doorway. You'll have to give her a tug to get her to come open. As you can see, there's multiple seals in this door. Some of the older models will have a little different seal setup than the newer trailer will. Inside your trailer, it's important to look for any damage. Any damage caused on the inside of the trailer will also create a hot spot. So you're looking for anything maybe done by a forklift or pallet jack, anybody at all that's put a mark or a hole in the side. Some of the things we'll look for on the inside of the trailer is clean floor. Is there debris on the floor? If there's debris, we need to sweep it out. A good corn broom is essential so we can sweep out the grooves here so the air will have a good return flow. Said we're looking down the side of the trailer. As I'm looking down the side, I'm also looking up at the ceiling and I'm checking my air chute. Is it intact? Is it in one piece? If it's not, I'm going to have to repair it. Duct tape usually is a good repair medium. If it's a big hole, maybe a piece of cardboard and then some duct tape to repair it. If it's totally unrepairable, then we're going to have to call road breakdown and get another air chute installed. If there is a hole in the air chute or there's a problem with it, it can make 12 degrees or more of difference from the front to the rear of the load. And in case of something that's extremely sensitive, like ice cream or lettuce, we could be talking a drastic difference and we could have major cargo damage. This is the front of the trailer, and on the other side of the bulkhead here is the evaporator. We have the unit that actually cools or heats the inside of the trailer. As you can see, there's a guard in front. Now, some of these guards may be metal or like this one that are plastic. That's to help keep freight from coming all the way to the forward of the trailer and blocking the return air to the evaporator. Again, we want to check and make sure our air chute's in place up here, because if it's not in place here, it's not going to get any air to the back. If there's any holes up here, the majority of the air is going to dump straight down in here and may cause product damage to the front of the trailer. Make sure anytime you see any warnings, such as beware of fan blades, heed those warnings. Don't be sticking your hands in places they don't need to be. Drain holes are in the back end of the trailer. There's two of them. There's one here and one on the other corner. These drain holes are essential. They allow water and excess fluid that may come off a product to drain. In some cases, however, we want to put a plug or to plug the drain holes so nothing can get, the hot air cannot get in, okay, like ice cream. We want to plug those holes so the cold will stay in the unit. On the back of the newer temperature control trailers, we have an inspection door. This inspection door is used to vent gases to the outside. If you're hauling like a load of ice cream, this door is never going to be open. But if you're hauling apples, onions, garlic, something along that line, you may have to open this door from time to time to vent some different gases. To do that, simply open that up, then close this again and shove it into place. Then to close it, just reverse the process. It's fairly simple. One thing you do want to watch for when you're out at a facility, at a customer especially, are dock locks. Since these trailers do sit down when you set the parking brakes, they will have a tendency to bend an ICC bumper like this one over here. It's had a temporary patch put in it, but the patch didn't hold. Here's an example of some wall damage inside the trailer. Another chute here. This chute's pretty badly torn and ripped. A lot of debris on the floor. We do require that after every load, the unit is washed. Use Macro 41 to get a washout PO from your fleet manager. If after being washed, the unit still has an odor, and sometimes it will, depending on the load that was previously hauled in it, you may need to purchase some coffee, a couple of 3 pounds of coffee, a couple of cans, and if you've got time to set the cans in and close the door, fine. If you don't, spread the coffee around on the floor, let it sit for a minute or two, and then sweep it out. Those coffee grounds will absorb any odor that's inside of the trailer and get it out. This is a Thermo King motor. Basically, the inspection things are the same thing. We're going to check the oil. We're going to check the belts. And there's only 2 belts on the Thermo King, but these belts are always a little looser than they are than a carrier. And I'll start the motor here in a minute, and you'll get to see how loose they are, but that's okay for a Thermo King. Here's an air filter indicator on this unit, so you can see the condition of the air filter. This is the fuel primer pump. Here, got the compressor and oil check here. This door, we have the phone number to call collect in case you have a problem. Battery is located here on a Thermo King, and on the inside door panel, all the alarm codes are present. I turn the unit on, and in a moment, it'll start. The Thermo Kings take a little longer. The glow plugs are a little slower. You have the buzzer. It's going to start, and now you'll be able to watch the belts on this. There's a little more movement on this belt. For a Thermo King, that's normal. Thermo King's pretty simple. It has half the buttons that a carrier does. Turn the unit on, you turn it to on. The microprocessor will run through a series of diagnostics. The glow plugs will warm up. You'll get a warning buzzer, and the unit will turn on. As in the carrier, There's a remote display you can see from your window. It's in a cool mode. This one shows defrost, heat, or alarm. This unit's set point is 36 degrees. The interior of the box is 73.7. It's in a cycle sentry mode, which means it's going to auto start and stop, and it's cooling down. To make a selection, again, change the set point, push the button what I want. On the Thermo Kings, the numbers won't flash. If I don't press enter, within a few moments it'll go back to the original set point. If I do want to change it, I have to press the enter key, like that. It'll say load, L-O-D. Now it's got the new set point. For auto start and stop, I have to go to select, go to cycle sentry, yes, hit enter. It's going to say load, then I have to go in and change the key to no, then press enter. It'll say load again, and now it's in continuous run mode. I can also look up here on my display, and the icon next to the cycle sentry is gone. To change that back, just reverse the process.